Hi, welcome to the Empowered Woman Podcast. This is a place for you to learn from inspiring women how to empower yourself through self-love. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is martaspirk, and I'm your host, triplet mom, woman empowerment coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. On this episode, I talk about how the worldwide chaos we're experiencing is teaching us so many lessons. What are the blessings in disguise that the coronavirus is bringing us? I also share some exciting news about bonus episodes on the podcast recorded live inside my Facebook group, the Empowered Women Community, and how you can be featured by sending in your questions and ideas and participating live. Let's get right to it. Where to even begin? Of course, I'm going to have to dedicate an episode talking about the craziness that's happening in the world right now with the coronavirus, the infamous COVID-19. It's impacted the entire world, and it's crazy because when tragedies or massive things like this happens, it's usually located somewhere specifically in the world, and if you're not living there, you really empathize and you feel for those people, but you're not actually living that situation. Well, this pandemic, or whatever you want to call it, has affected all of us collectively on the entire planet. And that is crazy to think about because not even a war sometimes, most times, affects the entire planet. And it's crazy what the power of some biological madness can have over us and really show us our weaknesses and how fragile we are, and not only health-wise, but also emotionally wise, mentally wise, socially wise. And I do want to bring up some ideas here for you to reflect on, things that I have been thinking about the last weekend, and actually, especially ever since we had our first positive case here in Colorado. It's all fun and games, quote unquote, until it actually hits your state, your town. And I have to admit that I was one of those people, because I'm so naturally optimistic, that wasn't so alarmed. I don't generally watch the news. I have been paying closer attention to the news ever since I've been more in contact with the local news here, being on TV a few times since last year. But we've been watching the news more because of the upcoming elections, presidential elections here in the United States. And with me in the process of becoming a citizen, I'm excited to register to vote come November. But that was basically it, just following politics to know, who the candidates are going to be and watching the debates. Even before being in the process of citizenship, this is something that I'd been interested in because my husband obviously watches it. So I remember back in the elections of, when was it, 2012, I was pretty much following everything and watching the news. That was before I had the kids, and now I've been following it and everything. But Shane, my husband, he was really looking into the whole thing happening in China. And he was a little bit concerned already. And I was just thinking, well, it's in China and it is what it is, until it started here in the United States. And the last straw for us was when it came to Colorado. And it happened to be the same exact date that we decided to go take a ski trip up in the mountains here in Denver. We went to Keystone and Dillon and Silverthorne. We stayed the night. We'd been talking about doing that, having my brother-in-law stay the night with the kids, and us just going there so we could enjoy some time together, since we both got ski passes and I only got to go once so far. And we stayed the night. First thing in the morning before we head out to the mountain, we see the news that the first couple positive cases in Colorado had been confirmed, and one of them had been from somebody that had been at Keystone, at the ski resort. And so we didn't even ski that day. We just drove back home and stayed with the kids. And even though kids are not one of the groups that is highly affected, at least in the majority of places, Samuel does have a lung condition. He is, more susceptible to the whole situation because of having an underlying condition in respiratory condition. And since this is kind of like the flu, it usually takes him a little bit longer to recover. And so we'd been concerned, and this has been, the main reason why. And I feel like if we didn't even have kids, or if Samuel didn't have this situation, we probably wouldn't be as concerned. And it's interesting how people react in different ways based on their current situation, based on their beliefs. It's interesting even to see how Brazilians are reacting to this, because they tend to be, a little bit more careless and reckless. And I don't know, it's just a cultural thing, I guess. And so, but it has affected us, and we were kind of wondering the entire last week what things would, happen. And it's crazy how things escalated very, very quickly from the very first positive case confirmed in the state to a week later, schools being shut down. So now the kids are going to be home until April 7th. And I had to cancel my upcoming workshop. I was planning on still going with it because I went to this amazing event by the Women of Denver last Wednesday, and it was so fun. I do want to talk about a couple takeaways from that here. And they were kind of in the talks of potentially canceling. It wasn't as big of a turnout because lots of people decided to stay home and just watch the live stream. I decided to go anyways because I'm a member. I hadn't been to a live event in a while by the Women of Denver, and so I went, and it went great. I got so much out of it, made amazing connections, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to stick with my event unless something else comes up. And sure enough, I called the venue on Thursday morning, and I asked them, and they say, well, we don't plan on canceling anything or shutting down, but we'll let everybody know, that has booked an event or that has booked a room. And then later in the day, I don't know, like at 5 p.m., they send out an email saying, we're shutting down the venue until the end of March. So I had to go back and delete my posts, contact my speakers, and say, I'm officially having to cancel because the venue is going to be shut down. So that was kind of disappointing. And then I hear on Friday that the kids are going to be off school. And it's kind of crappy to change, your entire routine, everything you're used to. But of course, because I'm always looking for the silver lining, I'm always looking for the hidden blessings, the blessings in disguise, the lessons in disguise, I started looking at this as a whole different thing, as an opportunity to really reevaluate your priorities, especially me with the kids. A couple weeks ago, I talked openly about something that I realized and was willing to admit to myself. And then once you're willing to admit it to yourself, you're able to admit it to the world and to other people that it's been a tough road having triplets, accepting triplets, and that none of this is connected to the love that I feel for my kids. It's just, a very rough reality to get used to. I mean, being a mom, period, but then with this situation of having 3 at the same time, one of them with a lung condition, experiencing a cross-continent move, and all of that. And then the last year with the kids being in school the entire time, it really helped me kind of take a break from them because it was just so overwhelming the last, the 3 years before that with being full-time stay-at-home mom to triplets. And I talked about, the disappointment, the resentment to the situation. And then it's interesting how when you have the weekend off, and it's just enough to push you over the edge of being around the kids the entire time and having to worry about meals and naps. And then come Monday, they go to school and it's back to routine. They come home in the afternoon and we do it over and over again until the weekend. But then when you're faced with the reality of they're not going to be going to school at all and you can't even go anywhere because most public places are going to be closed and a social contact is discouraged anyways. And plus with Sammy's condition, it's not like we would venture out anyways. It's like, all right, so it's not that I have to be around them and push through for a couple days. This will be 3 weeks. 3 weeks of not going anywhere. And the only people that we really feel comfortable getting together with is my sister and her family. And so it really helps you evaluate your priorities and start thinking like, when you're so used to not enjoying a certain task, you start resenting it once you have to do it. But if you have no choice, then you really have to change your attitude. Because if every single day for the next 3 weeks, I start resenting the fact that my kids are at home and that we have to come up with activities, I have to be mindful of how much TV they're watching, then it's going to be a miserable 3 weeks. And I don't want to go through that. So I'm already preparing myself with the attitude of, what can I do? How can I help myself and help the situation? And I've seen across the internet, with all the schools in several states being shut down, moms are exchanging ideas of what to do with the kids, and homeschooling and different activities, going outside, etc., weather permitting. And it's interesting how, we're in the same mindset of let's make the most of these 3 weeks. And so that's why I feel like this whole experience, of course, is awful. People are dying, which is a very, very serious matter. But at the same time, we have to be mindful of the good aspects of it, which is focusing on family, really spending time with the people you love, because tomorrow is never promised. So why not make the most of it instead of being angry at what's happening? Because it's really out of our control, right? When you think about disease, there's lots of things that we can do to help stop the spread and to stay healthy, but ultimately it's really not something that you can control, and you don't know how you and your family are going to be affected by it. So why not stick together, right? And this leads me to my other point. First, this is really helping me reevaluate priorities, and I feel like all of us. And second, understanding how it's really, really important for us to respect each other. Not only in the sense of I'm not going to go out there and expose myself unless I absolutely have to. Like in my husband's case, he's still going to work. He doesn't have a whole lot of contact with other people. He works outside. And so it's kind of a different situation, but they have expressed that, if you feel any symptoms or even if you start coughing, that they will send people home. And he doesn't have the ability of doing his work from home. He's an electrician, so there's no way he can work remotely. And so this really, makes you think about how we need to be more mindful of what we do on a daily basis, as in regards to other people and how we treat other people, especially the ones that are not being mindful of social distancing, that are thinking that this is an exaggeration, and for the ones that are fighting online, right, with each other, saying, you're stupid or you're not taking this seriously. And it's like, this moment is really bringing out the ugly in all of us with the whole hoarding situation of toilet paper and food, going to the grocery store. It looks like it's the freaking Armageddon or Black Friday with people running around, pushing each other to make sure that they get the stuff that they need, when we're not at that point. There's enough supply. It's just people are going so crazy, hoarding and buying in bulk, wondering if they're going to lack. And others, there have been reports of people that have bought toilet paper and hand sanitizer to resell at $70. I don't know if you've seen this going around. I think it was somebody in Washington State. I forget where exactly they were. But basically, I think they were sued, they received a fine, and now they donated everything. So there's lots of crazy stuff happening out there, and it's, more than ever a moment for us to reevaluate our values and really living in society and coming together. Yesterday, Sunday, March 15th, President Trump announced that it was National Prayer Day and encouraged people to watch church from their homes. And he specifically encouraged us to watch the Free Chapel in Georgia's, this church, a service that they were doing without an audience. It was just, the worship team and the pastor. And one of the things that he said really stuck with me. He said, we no longer have the luxury of disunity. And it's so true. We never have, but especially in a moment like this, we need to stick together and help each other out. And there have been so many efforts, I've been added to so many local groups on Facebook of how we could help each other, like exchange things, or, several schools are open to feeding kids that may not have food, because that's another concern. If kids are going to be home for 3 weeks, that's so much food that we're going to be going through that normally we wouldn't, because my kids have breakfast and lunch in school. And so that's another concern too. Luckily, thankfully, we don't have, shortage of anything, and we're doing fine, but it's something else that you have to think about because it's out of the ordinary, out of the norm. And so people are coming together, and it's great, but it's really a time for us to reevaluate everything. And is this not what I have been talking about all the time when I say embrace the challenge, embrace the lows, because they are really a lesson. And in this case, it's a collective lesson. It's not, little troubles that you have here and there, and that teach you about yourself, and that challenge your values, and that challenge your beliefs, and make you reevaluate your life. This is happening worldwide. We're all reevaluating on such a larger scale of what's going on, and to think about and to talk about little things, like all of a sudden, at least a handful of things that you were worried about last week are gone. Like if you were thinking about, oh my gosh, I need to lose weight, or if you were thinking about, oh, I need to start car shopping or whatever, little things that you were worried about, are they not gone? Like, are they not on your radar? No longer on your radar, because right now we're just trying to live one day at a time, make sure our kids are safe, make sure everybody's fed. And another thing that I started thinking is that with all the shortage of toilet paper everywhere, we literally put our rolls, the remaining rolls that we still have, because we haven't been able to find them in any stores, we put them up in the little cabinet where the kids can't reach, because just leaving it hanging over there in the toilet paper dispenser was not going to cut it, because they go through a lot of it trying to wipe themselves or whatever. We decided to kind of ration it, and it's amazing how little you actually need of toilet paper if you're being mindful of it. And that makes me think of everything else that we waste on a daily basis because we're not being mindful of it, because we simply don't need to. There's no shortage of toilet paper. Why do I have to worry about how much I use? And it's not that I'm a wasteful person, but we're not even thinking about these things until something like this happens. Isn't that insane? So not only toilet paper, but everything else that we waste so much because we have so much. So it's really a moment for us to rethink so many things. And this brings me back to the point of a couple things that I learned at the Women of Denver event that were so amazing. There was this one lady that told a story of an unexpected surgery she had to go through while she was visiting Mexico. Basically, long story short, she broke her ankle while she was sitting inside a canoe, waiting for her friend, like holding the other canoe, sitting inside the canoe. A wave goes by and makes her go overboard, turn over. She breaks her foot and has to, put pins and go through massive surgery. And she was just talking about how she was actually grateful for that made her slow down, that made her rethink her entire life and be extremely grateful. And this is exactly what I'm always talking about, how problems, obstacles, they make you stop on your tracks. It's like forcing you to take a hard look at yourself and at your life. And then right after that, this was on Wednesday, right after that, all these things happen. And it makes me think, all of this is making the entire world slow down and reevaluate our priorities. So I love that story. And it's so true. To think about, how hard times are really important for us to slow down. Like, this is the collective message that the world is getting today. Slow the frick down, right? And love your loved ones harder, and love everybody harder, right? As a community, as a society. And there was this other lady that has been working with veterans and talked about one of the mottos, I think for the military, I forget exactly what it was, but it really stuck with me because it's really something I live by. That is, improvise, adapt, overcome. This is the motto, going into the military, living harsh conditions. And is this not what we're going through right now? Shortage of toilet paper. You just improvise, right? You just adapt. That's what everybody's trying to do in overcoming the situation. Or the kids being home from school for 3 weeks unexpectedly. What do? You improvise, you adapt, you overcome. So I wanted to share that with you as well. And if you know exactly whose motto that is, let me know. But I thought that was genius. And it's, such a great message for us at this time right now. And one last thing that I wanted to say is that I've been thinking about making some changes to the podcast recently, just because I've been talking so much about change and how change is important. As you evolve, change has to come. And if things stay the same, they're probably not growing and evolving. And so I wanted to experiment with a couple changes on the podcast. I had already thought about that. And recently, because of my event being canceled and having to stay home for such a long period of time, I've been investing more time in cultivating and nurturing my Facebook group, the Empowered Women Community. I've been doing monthly training. So I've committed to doing that ever since January, to doing monthly trainings inside the group and providing value in addition to the value that I already provide inside the Empowered Women School, which is a paid membership. And so with all of this happening, I thought, why not do something weekly, at least for the next 3 weeks, since I'm not going to have a workshop. I can bring in some value in there. And I thought I would poll the group. So I polled the ladies and I said, what are some interesting topics that you would like to see and be trained on? I gave a few options. And the very first one, by a landslide, was a topic: social media and stress. How to make the best use of your time while online. So I will be talking about this later in the week, and I would love for you to join us inside the Facebook group. But I have something exciting to share, is that as I do the live video with the training and, talking about different strategies and ideas to help you manage your stress while you're online, which more than ever now, because of the current situation of isolation and social distancing, I'm going to be recording a podcast episode out of that. So I'll be turning that into a podcast episode, because I realize not everybody uses social media, not everybody listens to me uses social media or is very active on Facebook and inside the group, which if you are, please go ahead and join the Empowered Women Community. I will put the link in the show notes, but literally if you just go in the search bar and put Empowered Women Community, you should be able to find it right away and request to join. But I'll be doing this live video in there, and I'll be kind of going through and polling different groups and different people and different types of social media to see what are some of the strategies that you use, or what are some of the struggles that you have when it comes to social media, managing your time, managing your stress levels. So if you want to be featured on an episode, not only get in touch with me and share your ideas with me, but also hop on live as I'm doing the live video inside the community. And I'll be doing this every single week for the next 3 weeks. So in addition to interviews that I'll be releasing, I'll also release these little short episodes. They'll probably be around 10-15 minutes as I'm going to be doing the live video. So I'm super excited about that. So yeah, hit me up with your questions so that I can address them live on the episode, or really your impressions. Like, what is the fine line between getting so much information, especially around the coronavirus, and just creating panic, right? How do you know when to stop, shut it off, just spend time with family, and when to really, really pay attention to what's happening so that you can stay up to date and protect yourself and your family? And in general terms, not only with the situation that we're living right now, how, do you separate comparing yourself so much on social media and feeling crappy about your reality, or posting stuff to get validation, to get external validation? How do you manage those things so that you're not, wasting your time and really, really keeping your priorities in check? So I would love to hear your ideas on that. And I'm so excited about this idea of recording live and having people participate. So please message me your thoughts. And if you're not on social media, just send me an email, martaspirk@gmail.com. Tell me how you're feeling going through all of these things, craziness. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I so appreciate you and hope you and your loved ones are staying healthy and safe. Don't forget to join the Empowered Women Community on Facebook and connect with me so you can have your ideas and questions featured on our bonus episodes. Until next time, bye.